What a different world Islanders are waking up to today. Last week we had one active case in this province. Over the weekend they announced 11 new cases, 18 active cases in total. Now, if you hear those numbers, some other areas across the country might be thinking that's pretty good numbers. But what's concerning is in the past when we've had COVID-19 cases here on the island, they were able to trace back. Most of them related to travel, easily traceable. That's not the case this time. Our Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Heather Morrison, said at this point she just doesn't know the root cause of these cases, and they continue to increase over the weekend. So as you said, a complete shutdown in this province over the next 72 hours. No school. Schools are closed today. College and university classes have been canceled. If you had dinner reservations in this province, they have also been canceled. Most are going to takeout. Some are closing completely. And at this point in time, they're just doing as much testing as they can possibly do in hopes to be able to, as the Premier describes it, get his arms around this case. Here is the Premier talking about the frustrations that Islanders are feeling about all this.
And I know this is frustrating. It's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for Dr. Morrison. It's frustrating for every Islander. We are in a tougher spot right now than we have been for quite some time. But we've been in tough spots before.
So there is the Premier Wayne, and we're also hearing, as he was at that briefing yesterday, from health officials who are warning there could be more cases. They're watching numbers. They're checking for variants. What are the next steps in all of this, do you think, in terms of response?
Well, Heather, really, it's about testing. Over 4,500 people were tested. They're really zeroing in on the 29 and under categories because that's the recent cluster of cases that we're seeing, as you said, in the both two urban centers here on Prince Edward Island, Charlottetown and Summerside. And at this point in time, they're saying there are over 50 locations, dates and times, where people may have come in contact with COVID-19. So any of those individuals who were at any of those locations are being asked to get tested. All those under 29 also getting tested. And at this point in time, there are over 200 close contacts already identified. They are also being asked to be tested as well to make sure they have not come in contact with COVID-19. Here's Dr. Heather Morrison.
Testing people both who have symptoms and those without symptoms is important in helping us to scope out what we are dealing with now and just how much of the virus is circulating in our province. It is when we know the extent of the transmission of the virus that we will be able to really take the appropriate steps to curb the transmission.
And Heather, at this point in time, during the news conference yesterday, in fact, Premier Dennis King had a plea actually to employers and employees to stay home if you're sick. If you have been to any of these places where you may have come in contact with COVID-19, to not go to work, because that's the point that they're concerned about right now, that people in this province are becoming complacent. We haven't had a lot of cases. We've had no hospitalizations or no deaths in this province. But as the Premier said, it's not time yet. The end is in sight of this pandemic, but not yet. So he's asking people just to be extra cautious over the next few days to get a handle on how widespread this COVID-19 cluster is.